So in today's episode of Golf is Ruining My Life, I almost get a hole-in-one on my own. Is it a dream? Is it a disaster? I mean, it's to be discussed.
Nightmare. It's incredible what you can do when you thin an 8-iron. Also, I will be telling you the British golfer who I think is going to win the Masters. And no, it's not that one. All that and more on the way on Golf is Ruining My Life.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. They're doing it again.
I've called it.
Why?
We called it.
Why are they doing it? Why twice a week? Why so much? Because they bloody love it, mate. They bloody love golf. Welcome to another episode of your favourite golf podcast. This is Golf is Ruining My Life, and there is so much to discuss in today's show. And off the bat, we're Great Britain's second biggest golf podcast.
I mean, what happened
Guys,
last week?
What's happening?
Did everyone stop listening to other podcasts? Was there some mutually agreed strike by other golfing podcasts in the UK? It was insane. We got a message from our publishers two or 3 days after it happened saying, guys, have you seen this? And I was on the radio show at the time, and it's, let me say, politically sensitive if I start sort of droning on about how brilliant my golf podcast is while I'm doing my other job. You know what I mean? It's a bit like telling your wife about how wonderful your mistress is or whatever, just a random example there.
Yeah.
So I had to keep it under my hat. Not at all. I had to keep it under my hat, Tom Green, and it was so, I'm so happy.
Yeah, we can't thank you guys enough because none of this would be happening, and there is so much happening this year which we are going to get you involved with. And none of this would have happened if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you so much, because we are now officially Great Britain's second biggest golf podcast. Madness. So thank you so much for always watching and downloading these videos. Yeah. Also, a bit more boring admin at the front of this episode. If you're listening on Spotify, which we know most people listen on Spotify, please give us a 5-star review. I really want to get more than 1,000 reviews. Click that 5-star button. It makes a massive difference. So thank you in advance. How's your golf price?
My golf is... it's really annoying when the diary... you must get this, when the diary just sort of comes along and goes, no golf for you, randomly. Do you know what I mean? Just randomly. So at the moment, what I'm thinking about doing is nipping up for a little practice. I've got this sudden 2-hour window this morning. However, I've got loads of other things to do. But I'm thinking about canning off all that, sacking off all that, and going and practicing. Because like I was saying last time, I'm really into the idea of practicing at the moment. But the problem is I'm practicing with no round in mind. I don't know when I'm playing next after today.
Yeah, you're not trying to strive for some. Well, we are. We're always, as we said at the start of the year, we're all striving to try and get me and Price into Open qualifying. The quest for Open... Don't laugh. It's not that ridiculous. Someone had a really good idea. I don't know whether we brought this up. Someone messaged us a really good idea saying, guys, you don't need to get down to scratch handicap to do this. If you just turn pro, which we can do, I think, you can just hand your amateur status in and go pro. You could,
no.
Yeah, I think you could just go and play in it, which would be hilarious to see all these names. Because obviously, you get a lot of professionals that play, a lot of well-known names that haven't managed to get through into playing the Open through the normal way, which is like top 100 or whatever it is.
Yeah, of course.
So you get loads of great players that play, but imagine they turn up and tee it up with me and end up...
I mean...
Who's this guy shooting 90?
Yeah, they'll be like on the first tee, and Justin Rose will turn to you and say, nice bunt. That's useful if you're in the trees. But did you see that? That's what Justin Rose did last year. He had to go through qualifying.
Was it just... Yeah, it was Rosie, wasn't it?
And
I know it was someone.
It was Rosie, and it was amazing because Justin Rose, he finished at Burnham and Barrow, which, if you've never played Burnham, what a special course that is. Really, really wonderful, wonderful golf course. And that is, I believe, where he did it. He finished qualifying and qualified for the Open. And what I found sort of really, I don't know if it's encouraging or just really interesting, is that he absolutely smashed it. Like, he is so good.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, you know, when maybe a professional slips back and maybe a Premier League footballer plays in, you know, down a division, and actually when they're in the mix with everyone else, you don't see them, they're not that much better. He dropped down to do qualifying, and he was very good.
No, he's that much better.
He is. Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting point, Tom, because they say at a certain level of golf, when you're past a certain level, everyone looks quite similar. And I do think this, working on that Challenge Tour events over the last few years, the top guys on there who now I see on TV, like I was watching the event Minwoo Lee won the other week, right? So I was watching that.
The children's thing in
Texas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And watching that in the final group, or one of the final groups, was a guy called Jesper Svensson. And I'm like, Jesper, my boy! I work with you at the challenge tour. He's my guy. He's lovely. He's a Cobra player, right? So at the time we were with Cobra, and I got to know him a little bit because I knew the guys from Cobra who he was with, and he's the most normal, lovely man. Jesper Svensson, he's called. And then I'm sitting there in my PJs on a Sunday, and I go, "Ha! I know that face." But my point here is watching those guys tee it up. My opinion is they're as good as the pros, right? And obviously Jesper going on to being one of the final groups proves that. But Justin Rose turning up at Open qualifying where you think maybe everyone here is of a certain standard, and then he just goes and absolutely shoots the lights out. You're like, no.
Shoots the lights out.
He is a level above, isn't he?
Of course he is. He's absolutely amazing. I'd love to. Justin Rose is an interesting one because obviously the elephant in the room. Well, we could talk about our golf. Obviously, I'm happy to do that. But the elephant in the room today is it's Monday of Masters week, guys. And right now, probably the chances are if you turn Sky Sports on with the fabulous Nick Doherty and team, they're going to be doing Masters coverage. They are there, which I think is a bold move. That's even bolder than us going twice a week. That is a lot of golf chat to start covering that on a Monday.
Yeah.
I hope they've got some padding prepared.
But Tom, we manage 2 YouTube episodes a week, 1,500 TikToks, about 5 YouTube videos. We put so much out there, and we just talk guff. Absolute we don't have guff. The Masters access.
No, you're right.
I watch every goddamn minute of that this week.
Oh, mate, I'm so excited. But I would love to see Justin Rose, and I feel like he's had quite a good year so far, and I would. Because he's 40, he's my age. I think he's 44, and I would love to see him put a run in because he does do that. Justin, there's a thing that tends to happen to pros when they get to an age, which is they'll suddenly explode and have an incredible first 3 rounds, and they fall away in the last round. And sometimes, sadly, that is age. That is just they're tired,
big tired,
and they're tired or they realise, well, this might be one of the last chances I have. That's a big pressure, which I've read interviews with players talking about that. And I've seen Justin do that a few times. He gets in the mix. We've all seen that in recent years. At majors, Justin will be there on the last day, and you're like, oh my God, he's only 3 shots off, and he never quite does it. Yeah. And I wonder if it is that.
Do you think you get to a point where you almost go past that as well? There's a point where you're on the precipice, where you're thinking, oh God, this is it. This is my final chance at a major. I've really got to get this one home. But then there's a point where you go past that, and then you're just happy to be in the mix. Like, what year was it Phil won his last major? Phil Mickelson.
Oh, I couldn't tell you. The big one that was devastating was it Tom Watson, who so nearly won he so nearly won the Open at like 60.
Yeah,
and it was gut. I still think about that. And some rando won it, didn't they?
There's a really good podcast episode about that. Not to send Great Britain's second biggest golf podcast audience elsewhere, but it is a pretty good podcast. It's called The Open Podcast, and it's produced by the guys that have The Open. The RNA, I think they're called.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, we're over their work.
Friends of the show.
Beautifully produced and published. Better than this guff. And there is a whole episode about Tom Watson and what happened. And I think there's an interview with the guy that went on to win. And it's a fascinating listen. It's called The Open Podcast if you want to go and check it out. But obviously come back here afterwards. Jesus.
Obviously, don't go too far. So look, the Masters is coming up. I mean, do we pivot Masters woods at this stage, or do we sort of carry on staring at our own golfing navels? What would you like to do? Because I've still got more chat on my golf.
Yeah, well, I think we've got so much Masters content coming this week with the podcast. Guys, we're going to attempt something we've never done on this show before. Every time I mention it to Price, he doesn't seem happy with the idea, but it is going to happen.
Go on. Yeah.
Every night, as soon as the live broadcast finishes, we are going to produce a 15-20 minute little deep dive into what we've watched, who we think's doing well, who we think can come through. Just a little bit like, imagine watching the Masters with your mates all around your house and you're having a beer afterwards. That's what we're going to make every day the live broadcast finishes, and we're going to put it out straight away.
Predominantly Tom Green talking. Are you doing breakfast that week? Are you on breakfast?
Oh, God. I might be.
You haven't thought this through at all. One of the nights, right? One of the nights is Sally Price, a.k.a. my mum's 80th birthday. Okay. So there's a solid chance that I'm going to have to go out for dinner, right? keep an eye on the Masters and then go, sorry, everyone, got to knock it on the head. I know you want to go on because they're going to want to go clubbing. My mum loves an indie disco.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to head on home and talk about, how did Victor Hovland do? Which is absolutely, that's right. That is what I want to do.
Yeah, that is exactly what you want to do. I know you do.
Yeah.
We've got loads of great
idea.
content coming, and this is going to be a half-remembered stat, but I do want to touch on it. There's a really interesting stat, which we're going to do a full video on, which is over the last 15 years, one of the most important stats in a prediction of who's going to win the Masters.
Oh, this is great. This stat. I love this one. Yeah.
Strokes gained tee to green, I believe, is the stat, and the only players that haven't been in the top 3 strokes gained tee to green in the last 15 years was something like Matsuyama and what's his face, the guy that people don't really like that won the Masters. What's his name?
Oh God.
Come on.
The guy that don't people. The guy,
Come on.
Cantlay, he didn't win the Masters, did he? I don't know. Suddenly it feels like a pub quiz. But what you're saying is the strokes gained in over the beginning.
Patrick Reed.
Patrick.
Sorry,
Reed. So who definitely didn't cheat. So over the beginning of the season, the first however many tournaments of the season, they take the strokes gained, and they get the top 15 of the strokes gained. And whenever they've got that top 15 in the last however many years, only 3 people who have won the Masters weren't in that strokes gained top 15.
We'll do a full video on this, but I've got all the facts to hand. The reason I want to mention this is the person who is in that list. So, and there's only 5 golfers. One of them, it's like Rory, Colin Morikawa, Scheffler. But interestingly, one golfer who is in that list, Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah.
Now
that's interesting, isn't it?
It's interesting. It seems ridiculous. We every time we do like a predictor of who's going to win a PGA Tour event or a major, we always say Fleetwood. We would get slated in the comments of people going, guys, it's a fantasy. It's never going to happen. And I think I probably agree. But it's interesting that there's only 5 golfers who are in this stat who this applies to. And one of them is Tommy Fleetwood.
I would bet the mortgage that Tommy Fleetwood's going to be in the top 10 at the Masters. He is one of those guys, right? He will be there or thereabouts. I've got no doubt at all. Look, we all know he's not won an event on the PGA yet. He is so good. He's such a class bloke, first and foremost. He's got gorgeous hair. And then, thirdly and finally, and least importantly, he's a fantastic golfer. There's a guy who's an incredible golfer at my club, who everyone loves. He's the best golfer in the club by a mile, and he was nearly a pro himself. And he was in the same sort of year as people like Fleetwood, and he talked about one of the reasons he never bothered to go full on as a pro, even though he was off like +7 at 18 or whatever, was that there people like Fleetwood, and he says Fleetwood specifically was just so good, and it was just like. Yeah. How would I possibly go up against him every week? Like, there's no way. So, let's not start to sort of dismiss Fleetwood. Let's not start to think, he's the no chance guy. He is fantastic. He's been there or thereabouts for a long time. Maybe this is his time.
I would be really interested to get someone like that golfer you mentioned from the golf club on, or people that nearly got there but didn't quite make it, because I would love to know what they think separated the Fleetwoods to them. Was it more practice? Was it starting from an earlier age? What was it? What sort of guarantees success? Do you think it's a head game? Do you think it's all mental?
I'm pointing at my brain. Yeah. That's what. Look, don't forget the time we chatted to Simon Dyson. I always talk about this. I always remember this. And we talked about who is the guy, who's the one. And he mentions Ernie Els, who is on a picture behind me because he's my absolute hero. Just because I love winemaking and he's got a vineyard. No, because Ernie Els had the thing where he'd hit a bad shot and he'd step across the line and he'd forget about that bad shot in a way that he'd never seen anyone else do. Ernie Els was the one. And it's that mentality that is so impressive when people can do that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was interesting playing golf yesterday, talking about that mentality thing. So I went and played 9 yesterday afternoon, which is just lovely.
I know about this. Oh, mate. Your course, man, it's so beautiful.
Thanks. It was nice yesterday. It was windy as all hell, but it was because I was just going down and practicing a little bit. I'll be honest, I didn't pick up my form from where we left it off on Sunday, disappointingly. So I was spraying it a little bit, but I was playing 2 or 3 balls and I wasn't hitting it great. And but I would always go to my original ball and play that hole with that ball. But it was a little bit all over the place, right? And I left feeling quite deflated. I left feeling that my golf.
Did you?
Yeah, I just didn't. I didn't really. I didn't strike the ball very well, right? And then when I looked back on the holes that I played, I'd had like a 4 or 5 hole par run, right? But because because I wasn't in a game, because I wasn't in a match, I didn't have you there, I didn't have someone I was playing with. I didn't keep track of
you didn't have a witness.
I didn't have a witness, but I didn't keep track of it, right? So when I hit a bad shot, I would ruminate on the bad shot, like, oh, bloody hell, I've hit a bad shot. Whereas when you're in a match, you're forced to go to that bad shot and go, okay, recover from it, the Ernie Els thing, next shot, let's go. And I did do that because I was getting pars, but I was just constantly ruminating on, oh, I've hit a bad shot. So, you need that pressure of a game or a card in your hand to take away from I've hit a bad shot thing and just focus on what the score is. Because I didn't enjoy it yesterday. I played pretty bad, and I played off the whites in the wind, and it was hard. But I scored all right.
Okay, look, I've got a lot to say about this, but we've got the ads. Let's go to some ads. Here are some products for you to listen to. Come back in a sec, and we'll talk more about this.
Enjoy some products. Oh, lovely products. Back to golf. Right, go.
You were saying just now about... I'm still laughing at lovely products. So you were saying just now about that thing of ruminating on it and having a go at yourself. And it's interesting, you know, I've had this a lot when I play, especially with my mate John. He always goes, because you're really hard on yourself. And that thing of, there's a fundamental thing that happens when I hit a bad shot or it goes wrong, or I've hit a great drive and I'm in the 9-iron for over 130 yards zone, which is my absolute... I could do that with my eyes closed. And then I screw it up. As I did, in fact, I think, with you at Paul's Park the other day.
Pepper the rough.
Peppering the rough. It's golf is ruining my life. And those moments, you feel like your whole game has crumbled. You feel like this whole idea that I can play golf has evaporated and I can't. And it's been discovered by one shot. And it's like, are you crazy? Do you realise, on the outside looking in at that, do you realise how mad that is? Yeah. But you, when it's happening to you, and you'll all have done this, when it happens to you, you feel like, oh God, it is the definition of being good at golf, that you have the momentum and you have the trust that you're going to do it again, and it's a blip. But we all play golf with so much fear that we're going to do the crazy shank or do the annoying thing. And then when it happens, we go, well, I certainly do this. Well, that's it. It's confirmed. I knew this was going to happen.
I couldn't play golf, and that shows me I can't. I'm a rubbish golfer.
Let them go, man. Let those bad shots go.
And that's the thing with playing with a card with in your hand as well. If you do miss the green, which we're all going to do, like there's a really interesting stat. There's something mad that like 110 yards in, everyone that listens to this podcast probably thinks they should be peppering the green at that stage. And there's something mad that like 20% of tour pros don't get the green from that yardage, right? But we as amateurs think that we should. But when you've got a card in your hand, the difference is, and we had this when we played on Sunday, because I actually, green and reg I actually really struggled with on that Sunday. But it wouldn't matter, because you miss the green on the left or the right with that 9-iron, and because you've got a card, you're forced to scramble, and you get a par, and you walk away feeling good. When you don't have a card in your hand, you go, oh, I'll throw another ball down. You hit another one, you end on the green, and then nothing feels like you deserved it in the end. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, and it feels like a false economy, and you're not then you're not giving yourself credit. And we always talk about this. You're not giving yourself credit for stuff. You are just sort of, you'll hit a good. This is the other problem I have. You'll hit a good shot and go, well, yeah, of course, that's a good shot.
Yeah.
And yet the bad shot will be the one that leads you into this spiral.
God, that's
like when you hit a good.
The good shot. Here we. Oh, I've got some philosophy.
Here we go. I've got to write this down. Someone take the notes.
I got some philosophy.
Holbrook, write this down.
The good shots in golf define you just as much as the bad shots do. What do you think about that? I don't mind that gear, actually.
I can to work it up. To work on this, I would say, don't be defined by the bad shots. Be defined by the good shots.
Oh my God, he's worked on it. Do
you know, like
he's worked on it.
You've got to actively. You're not that. You have to see when the bad shots happen. That has to be and when I say bad shots, this is in comparison to what so you could be this applies to a 36 handicapper as much as it applies to a 6 handicapper. When the shots that you're better than happen, you just have to eliminate those. Those are not you. Those are almost like those are someone else. And then you hit the good shots and you go, though, that's me. I'm so good at this. Like if you keep that attitude somewhere bubbling away, that will be night and day this summer as you go into those big rounds of golf.
I had a thought as well by playing yesterday. Would you rather Would you rather strike the ball amazingly and really feel like you're compressing irons and you're hitting it beautifully but score badly? Or
yes, I know this one. Yeah,
sort of scramble it around a bit but score quite well? Because that's what I had yesterday. That I nearly got a hole in one, right? Which was
I
mad.
know you sent me a photograph. You sent me a picture. The pitch mark is mad.
The pitch mark is insane. Thank you to people that commented on it saying, repair your pitch marks. Obviously, I didn't repair it for that photo so you could see where it pitched, you div. Sorry. Yeah, good stuff. But it was pretty thinny iron shot.
Oh, really? You didn't tell me that on the message.
No, it was all like, no, listen, it was all right, but it wasn't golden hour. It wasn't just perfection. And I had a little bit of that yesterday. I had a bit of getting on that par run, but it all being a bit scrabbly and thin and getting away with stuff. And I think I would rather have the feeling, we all know the feeling of pure strike over a good score. I think.
Oh, but all I know is that, and Howard, my coach down in Kent, who's great, has always told me this. They asked a load of people that exact question, right? And club golfers, by and large, all went, yeah, I'd just like to strike it well. And proper golfers, pro golfers, or very, very good scratch and plus golfers all went, I don't care. I just need to score. Now, obviously, part of that is because they're pros and they're trying to make a living. But fundamentally, they wanted it because they just wanted the numbers. And that comes back to a thing, right? Here's the thing, which is that those guys who are off +2 or +3, if they have one of those days where they're thinning it and they're a bit lucky, they know that business will resume. Business will return to normal before long, and they will be striking it flush again.
Yeah.
Whereas amateurs, obviously, that is not the case. We just go, oh my God,
that's who I am.
Hit it well. How do I do that again? Trust that you're going to do that again, that will return again, and you're going to feel much, 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 much happier. You're going to enjoy it more, because that's another thing as well. You can end up in a horrible place where you don't really enjoy playing, and that's the worst.
But hold on, do we think there's a deeper point here from that, which is, do we think that us as amateurs, as 18 handicappers, 10 handicappers, 5 handicappers, we all presume that you're scratch golfers and you're professionals. You know what it's like when you hit that dream shot and it just feels amazing. We all presume that in the pro game, that's every single hit that they're taking. When maybe that stat sort of proves it isn't. Maybe more often than not, they're just getting it round a bit, really. And they score amazingly, but they're not hitting it out the sweet spot every single time. Yes, they're doing it more than us amateurs, but it's not every single time, right? And we as amateurs presume that these professional golfers are just having this perfect round of golf every single time, then when really they're not, are they? They're just getting it round like we are.
Yeah, exactly. But think about it this way, right? They are just getting around like we are, but they practice a lot. I mean, this is my key word this year, is practice, right? They hit a lot of balls before they go out and play. They hit balls after they've gone and played, right? That is how they get to that Formula One level. This is like you or I driving to work and then going, yeah, that's me warmed up, and then hopping in a Formula One car and expecting to be as good as, those guys, right?
Yeah.
It's insane that we all turn up and think we're going to be as good as we can be when we've done no practice or when we've not played for a week. Like, the reason these guys are insane is because they play and they hit 100 balls plus every single day. And that, by the way, is my dream at the moment, Tom. This is sort of dawning on me at the moment. This idea that we would be full-time at this and we'd record podcasts.
Don't look at the sun. Don't look at the sun.
I know. And then I'd just go and practice. That, and then really think that is my life dream at the moment. To talk about golf, put the podcast off, and then go up to the golf course and then play golf. And that's it. That's really all I want. You know what? In life, like, you kind of sometimes go, what's my passion? What's my purpose? What do I love? What's my thing? And I'm just like, oh God, I just want to do that. That's just all it is.
Golf balls, guys.
Yes, day. I know. It's so ridiculous. I know that sounds ridiculous. But at the moment, that's how I feel.
Well, thanks to you guys at home listening.
Well, yeah.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. But we should talk about Masters very quickly, mate, by the way.
Well,
We've only got 5 minutes left.
I wanted to pivot back to professional golf very quickly to ask you a question that struck me while watching, again, the children's Texas thing with Minwoo Lee the other week. Because Scheffler went off, and I can't remember the name of the other golfer who was in that chasing pack. There was someone else pretty famous. Can't remember who it was.
Gary Woodland.
It was Gary Woodland, yeah. So they finished, and they went off to sort of do their own thing. as Minwoo Lee finished on the 18th and 17th. And in their mind, there was a potential for a playoff, right? But it was interesting to see the difference between Scheffler and Woodland. And I wanted to know what you as a golfer would do in that position. Like the big rain delays where you can't play, potentially going to be a playoff. What do you do? Because Scheffler went and sat in the scoring hut and just sat there and watched on TV. And Woodland went straight to the driving range and just kept hitting balls and trying to keep flexible. Because it's such
really tricky.
A headbender. I don't know what I would do. What would you do?
I think I know what I'd do. I'd do what Woodland did, but I'd want to be so good that I could do what Scotty did.
Right, okay. Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Because Scotty is clearly, let's be honest, if that was a Masters situation or that was a major, I think Scotty would be on the range. I don't think Scotty, at his level, thought it was worth it. I think he probably thought, I'm going to see what happens. I'll have a few warmths in a bit. I'm going to be uber chilled, right? I think I maybe that's untrue. Maybe everyone's like, no, it's huge to win that, because of course it's huge to win on the PGA. But something in that vibe just says to me, Scotty is elite.
Part of me wants Scotty to start absolutely dominating again, because he's had more weeks. Yeah, he's had more weeks at number one than any other golfer bar Tiger Woods. That's a half-remembered stat. That's probably untrue, but I think it's true.
Don't worry about it.
And I like that. And I want Scotty to have more love. I want him to go on to dominate a bit, because I was reading an article.
Already is.
I know, but I want him to. I don't know. I want him to start winning loads more stuff, and him to absolutely destroy it, and us to have this moment of another golfer who cannot lose. Because reading this article about him yesterday, I was like, God, this guy is. We all know he's next level, but like when you start to see the stats, you're like, oh, he's like Tiger levels.
So when Scotty's at his best, and when Rory's at his best, right? Which at the moment they're not far off, right? I think we'd all say, sadly, because I assume, certainly like me and you, Tom, I'd rather Rory won than Scotty. I don't know if actually that is the case with you, Tom.
No, it is. It's certainly at the Masters.
Right. What's the single thing that gives Scotty the edge? Because we all know Scotty has got the edge over Rory. If that was a situation, if they're coming down the last or whatever, excuse me, at the Masters, why is it that we think Scotty's got the edge?
Because Scotty's got a million more opportunities to do it and Rory doesn't. I think it's as simple as that.
What do you mean?
I think Scotty's got more time on his hands. He knows he's going to be in more positions of power in majors than I think Rory does now. Not that Rory's coming to the end of his career, but what is he, 35 or something like that? I think
Rory's got like 5 years of being absolutely at his peak now, maybe 4.
Yeah, and I think that starts to play on your mental game, doesn't it? It's what we said at the start of the show. You start to go, how many times am I going to be here? Whereas Scotty just feels that, well, I'll be here in the Open, and then the US Open, and then the Masters next year, and then the Masters after that.
Yeah.
And that is such an advantage to be like,
that's so true.
I don't care, whatever. Whereas it's the jittery golfer, not that Rory's jittery or even cares.
Well, come on, that's the thing that's haunted him. Look at his Masters blow up.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is what's going to kill Rory this week, is it all means so much.
That's yes. Oh my God, I want on the last day, I want Rory and Tommy. Can you imagine Rory and Tommy together within a shot of each other? I don't know who I'd want to win out of those two. I love Tommy Fleetwood so much. I might even want Tommy to win it. Actually, no, I'd want Rory to win it. Rory deserves it. Everything Rory's done, and he is generational talent. He's unbelievably good, and he hasn't won enough majors, and oh God, I'd love him to win.
Yeah, since I did my bit on Rory a couple of weeks ago, and it really split the internet, that I have had a few people reach out to me and be like, don't tell anyone, but I do find Rory a bit boring. Don't tell anyone I said that. And I was like, oh, I'm not saying that. I'm not in this Rory hate club. I just had an issue with what he said about YouTube golf, and I sometimes think he's a little bit boring.
What do you mean? It's not boring. Who knows what's going to happen? He misses 3-foot putts. It's fascinating.
Sorry, I don't mean boring in that sense. I mean, I love characters in golf, right? That's what I'm all about. I'm all about stories. I'm all about characters, okay? Yes, what they do on the course is important. It really is. But I love people who... That's why I love Minwoo Lee. Doing the aim point thing on a 1-foot putt is funny. It's brilliant. It's flair. That's why for years I liked Ian Poulter, because he's got a bit of something about him, right?
You know what we've got to do, right? We haven't got time now. We need to do a clip for TikTok or whatever, or YouTube. The five funniest golfers on the PGA.
Yeah, perfect. Hilarious.
Because Joel Damon, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, who would you want? If you want to have a laugh, if you want the comedy rather than the epic film of the Masters, who are the 5 golfers you'd love to see duking it out?
Can I specifically have Ricky Fowler from that video when he's with JT at college, when he's in shorts drinking on the golf course? I want that exact version of Ricky Fowler, ideally, please, in full orange.
JT said something really funny on Full Swing the other day, and I can't remember what it was, and it really, really made me laugh. Damn it, I can't remember what it was, but just
more great anecdotes like that next week.
We've run out of that, Steve. But by the way, just to warn you, when we do our late night Masters review, that's what I'm going to be doing, Tom, because my brain is off by 7 o'clock. So you're going to get a third of a Tom Price, which is probably a good thing.
Superb. So lots to come from Golf Is Ruining My Life this week. Please go and give us a 5-star Spotify review. I don't want to beg you, but please do. If you only ever watch this on Spotify, head over to the YouTube channel because there's loads of other content on there, including this year, we could probably say this now, me and Price are getting on a lot of courses and we're filming and we're going head to head. It's what everyone's been asking for, but it's happening now. So you don't want to miss it.
So excited.
Head to the YouTube channel.
We are going to tell you, next week, we're going to tell you what is going on, but it is so cool. It's ridiculous.
So all that to come this week on Golf Is Ruining My Life. And also next Thursday, or this Thursday coming, the return of Email Corner with our friends at Golf Bidder. Grab yourself a £50 voucher. We need your golf emails. The Toms at golfisruiningmylife.co.uk. Can you beat the Masters debacle from last episode? And it was a debacle. The best episode.
Oh, God, the betrayal.
It's so bad. The best emails will get £50 to go and spend at our friends in Golf Bidder. There is a link in the description of this episode if you want to go and check out Golf Bidder. They are helping fund the show at the moment. Always appreciated.
Go click the link. It helps if you click the link. It really helps us.
Yeah. So, see you on Thursday, and then Thursday night, and then Friday, and Saturday, and then Sunday.
It never ends.
See ya.
Unbelievable. Bye now.